I feel like in great horror games there should be a relationship between player and protagonist, and I feel this relationship comes under attack in this game in regards to Brad, the helicopter pilot. Okay, so at the start of the game, Chris and Jill are abandoned by Brad, and throughout the whole game, the player will have these intermittent radio conversations with Brad up until the point they are rescued by Brad. Now, the problem for me that arises with these conversations is the fact that there's no expression of anger, there's no expression of surprise or disgust or any kind of frustration aimed at Brad, and I feel this just is totally not believable. I mean, if someone was meant to pick me up in the street and they just left me, you know, I would have some feelings about that. So just try to imagine that scenario magnified into this scenario where they're being chased by zombified dogs, and it's a life-threatening situation, and then Brad leaves, and you would kind of expect there to be some kind of at least one sentence in the game where they say, "Hey, Brad, what happened? Like, why did you leave us? What happened? We almost died down there." There's no section of the game where the team comes together and says something to Brad like, "How dare you leave us," or whatever. It's just totally, not believable, their response. And I feel like in great horror games you need believable characters, you need a believable scenario, and also believable responses to that scenario, and that's just not present in this game. I think the problem with this game when it comes to Brad is the fact that there's no backstory, there's no character development of Brad. He's just this invisible guy who just flies away at the beginning of the story, and he comes in at the end to save the day with the rocket launcher, and he saves the team at the end. It just makes the game come across as very inconsistent, because you just think, who is this guy? Who is Brad? What's his motive? Why did he run away? I mean, it presents so many more questions. I mean, why did Brad fly away in the first place? What was happening with him? I mean, was he overwhelmed by dogs at the beginning of the game? Was he being attacked by a zombie? What was happening? There's no information in the cutscenes. There's no information in any part of the game that says why Brad leaves. It just makes no sense. It's very inconsistent, and I feel they missed a real opportunity to do something a bit more interesting with Brad, because they could have done a bit more of a cutscene. Or they could have shown him being attacked and he was fighting some zombies off or something, and he had to fly away and it was desperate, and I think it was a really missed opportunity with Brad, and it comes across in this game like there's something missing, and I think that's a real shame. The next thing I'd like to mention is the radio, and the fact that between two Stars teams there's only one radio, and this seems to be owned by Richard, who is attacked by the snake, and somehow his radio gets broken, it falls out of his pocket or something, and he gives his broken radio to Chris or Jill. And this makes no sense. You have two teams, which are a branch of the Raccoon City Police Department, the elite police unit, and they don't have radios. Like regular police would have radios. This makes no sense. There's a very quirky, very strange part of the game, but it just makes no sense, and it really affects the believability of the scenario. Yeah, I just wanted to say that despite these very small, minor points, I would say it doesn't impact on the believability of the scenario as a whole, in terms of the whole game. I would say that these are just tiny little nitpickings I have with this game, because like I said in the previous video, I do believe this game is a masterpiece, and I do honestly believe this is the greatest horror game ever made. It's also important to note that my points are referring to the original remake of the game and not the remaster, because you can see in the remastered version the character models actually have radios, so my point is actually referring to the GameCube version of the game. Okay, so that's the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to comment, rate and subscribe. You can tweet me at thehorrorofvg, or you can see my blog at thehorrorofvideogames.com. See you next time.